Well, welcome everyone, and thank you for joining our third and final webinar of 2022. Today, we'll be talking about 10 years of sustainable sourcing. Can you believe it? So in this webinar, my colleagues and I will share some thoughts about our sustainability efforts and how these have evolved over the last 10 years. We'll also be launching our 2021 sustainability report. So this is our second sustainability report. And we'll be launching it from today onwards. So you will get an exclusive peek just because you are joining us today. So let me start by introducing our team. My name is Kim Staalman, and I'm based in the Amsterdam office. And next is Nadine Rash, our founder and director based in Guatemala City. If you want to introduce yourself, Nadine.
Hi, I'm Nadine, sitting here next to our de-hauler.
Thanks. All right, Stijn, do you want to go next?
Hi, I'm Stijn. I work with Kim for our European office in Amsterdam.
Then last but not least, Hillary.
Hey everyone, I'm Hillary. I work out of our US office in the Bay Area, California.
Right, thanks everyone. Okay, so now you know who we all are. We're gonna kick this webinar off with a chat with Nadine about the sustainability in our value chain over the last 10 years. So Nadine, maybe we can start at the start in 2013. How did you then think about sustainability? How did you define it? And how do you think about it now? Do you see any changes in sustainability efforts or how we define it?
Yeah, certainly. So I think when I initially started, I didn't have a concrete definition about sustainability. The reason I started Primavera was I believe for more economic sustainability. Now that I have the words of how to describe it, it was because I saw a gap in the market for coffees of premium quality to be paid premium prices. So now looking back on it, it was for that economic sustainability that we initially started the company. And of course, as the years pass and we gain more experience in sourcing, we realized that really there's three aspects of sustainability in our entire sustainability program. And as you'll see from the report, revolves around three different aspects of sustainability. One of them is the economic side, which is initially why we started. Then we have the environmental sustainability, which has become a crucial part of our efforts, and the social sustainability, which came later because it has a lot of nuances and it really depends on the micro region where we're working. So there's not a one size fits all social sustainability mission or vision with regards to that side of it. So it's definitely evolved through the years. And yeah, I'm happy that it has changed, and that from the beginning it was maybe difficult to put into words these aspects, and the fact that over the last 10 years we can now reflect back and see sort of where we want to go forward with the sustainability of the coffee industry.
Cool, it's super interesting. So going back to the looking at the transparency, because I know that's very important. But do you know how can you tell us a little bit how it plays into the economic side of things? And maybe also touch on traceability, because I know those two things are thrown into the mix together quite a lot.
Yeah, so the idea of transparency for us has become the fact that it becomes economically sustainable to know everyone is winning in the chain. So from the beginning, the efforts that we have made have been to ensure that our producers have economic sustainability, that it is a business that they can continue working in for many, many years and generations to come. And having transparency in the cost structure of each of our producers allows us to pay higher than the cost of production. That's not necessarily linked to the cost of coffee or the cost of the sea market or anything to do with that, but we really look at the cost of production and ensure that everyone is making enough of a profit for this to be sustainable. So in order to have that, we need transparency. We need to know all the costs. We need to know every step of the chain is gaining, so it's a win-win for everyone. And along with that comes that transparency and that traceability. So we need to be able to trace every single lot back to its origin, and this has played a key role in the past 2 to 3 years for us, to ensure that we know where each lot is coming from, how much it's costing, as well as for us as the exporter and the miller, we need to know how much it's going to cost and where and how much we can sell it for. So having that transparency and that traceability has certainly become one of our key values and important points in the chain.
Super, thanks. All right, let's move on to environmental sustainability. So how did you envision Primavera's role in the environmental sustainability in 2013? And can you tell us a little bit how it changed maybe to where we are now?
Certainly. So I think when I initially started, it wasn't on my mind. Environmental sustainability was certainly not on my mind. I have to be honest. And I was like, well, it's agriculture, like it's trees, there's no damage to anything. But of course, with any human interaction with nature, there is an impact. And what we're trying to do is trying to make it as small as possible and as beneficial to nature as possible. So one of the first things that we have basic guidelines and basic rules for coffee that we buy. The first one is that it has to be shade grown. We've seen many studies where the fact that coffee is shade grown creates 3 types of forests, and allows us to have a more diversity, both in the field as well as animal diversity. So this not only allows coffee to grow in a much richer area, it helps our soils, it helps with erosion, it helps with water protection, water filtration. So it's certainly one of the most important things for us. So 100% of our coffees are shade grown. The second aspect of the sustainability, that environmental sustainability that we're focusing on, is water management. So all the coffees that are washed have been in touch with mucilage, or the honeys that coffee have, which has a very high acidity. These waters cannot be just thrown back to the soils or back to the rivers. There needs to be a filtration system. So this is what we've been working on in the past few years, is to ensure that all of our producers, even if it's a very simple and artisanal water treatment system, that they do have this in order for the water to evaporate and the main high acidity chemicals to stay on a layer on top of rocks. But there's it's quite complicated, but basically in 2 simple words, in order to have, good water treatment. So those are the 2 things that we're focusing on to ensure that all of our coffees are 100% under shade. So we're creating forests as well as the water treatment after the coffee has been processed.
Wow, that's amazing. So maybe a bit of a loaded question, but can you tell us a bit about how the environment of the Guatemalan coffee lands, what it's like at the moment, what the state is, and what you think that we will be focusing on for the next 10 years?
Yeah, I think, Guatemala was in a civil war for a very long time, and in the 90s that changed, and there is a lot of economic growth from the 90s until now. which of course is very positive, but at the same time, that brings along a lot of trash and rubbish and plastic and things that are not recyclable. So there has been a pattern, the pattern of consumption of most people, even in rural areas, has changed. So before, people, their snacks, if they were eating up mostly fruits or un tamal or something like that, they were wrapped in, for example, banana leaves, which is a brilliant wrapping. It's biodegradable, it's amazing. And now that has changed to like, chips and sodas and like just plastic everywhere. And I think in the last 4 or 5 years, a lot of people that are in the rural areas have gotten more conscious about that, because it affects them more than people in the city. Unfortunately, they're probably the minority that are consuming these products, but they're the ones that are affected the most, because they live near rivers where all the trash is, gets to, and they're seeing the side effects of this economic growth more than anyone else. That being said, I think the new generation of coffee growers are a lot more conscious about this, and they have started changing their practices. So, for example, if they have a nursery, the bags now are biodegradable instead of being like plastic bags where they keep the little trees. And there's a lot of movement and a lot of change. There's a lot of towns in Guatemala that have now banned straws, like plastic straws. They're small steps. Hopefully this will change in the long run. But I think there is a lot more consciousness in the past. This is new in the past 2 years, I would say. Hopefully this will continue to change and continue to help and evolve, and it'll go as far as people wanting to create more forests to ensure that they're taking care of their waters, because they're seeing that if they don't do that, this is going to damage coffee production in the future.
Yeah. Okay, but there is some hope, you say.
I believe so. I believe there's hope, even though that it has been very sad to see, some really beautiful places completely trashed by not only plastic, but lack of infrastructure as well, with water treatment tanks, anything from the water you use at home, from the shower, from the toilets, everything that is not processed properly if you're not connected to a municipality water system, to so much plastic.
Okay, so anything that we want to focus on in the coming years that you know of, environmentally, making things better? Anything you feel passionate about?
Yes. So I think, well, Hillary will touch upon this later in the conversation, but certainly one of our passions has been the reforestation aspect of coffee. And we have a project of reforestation in a nursery coming up this year. So if you're interested in working with us or helping us fund that, certainly get in touch with us. The idea is to help reforest areas that are higher than coffee, where coffee is grown. So that if you start from the very top of the mountain, you protect erosion all the way down. A lot of the tops of the mountains have been cut because of lumber and wood, the sale of wood, the commercial aspect of that. However, there's no management around it, so they just cut the trees and there's no replanting, there's nothing around that. So the idea is for the people that own these lands to know that they can cultivate wood, but it's a long-term project and it takes some management with it. So that's one of our key things, and Hillary will explain more. And then the other aspect is the water treatment situation. We want to help all of our producers have better treatment tanks, like to ensure that they know what to do with the water, why, to really understand, and for them to be shocked if they throw the water out, what happens, to understand all of that. And I think a lot of the reasons or people don't do that because they don't have the knowledge and they don't understand. They just think, oh, it's water, I'll just water my plants with it. But that's not the case. Like there has to be knowledge first and then action. So those are the two things that I'm most passionate about.
Cool, thanks. All right, I think we've touched upon two of the three sustainability topics, the economical one and the environmental one. So how about the social sustainability tier? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, when I started, I don't think this was even at all on my mind. If our environmental wasn't, if social was definitely not on my mind. However, it has become one of our most, interesting and valued parts of the business, which it's so exciting to see. I think I was oblivious to the fact that starting a business in a country that is male dominated was first a shock for everyone. It wasn't for me because of my education, of my upbringing. However, obviously in the circumstances here, it's slightly different. So I think maybe it wasn't on the front of my mind, but it was certainly in my subconscious that there was no limits for women, for example. And now we're seeing, and we actively try to involve marginalized groups, being women or the youth in coffee that are not necessarily taken seriously by the rest of the family members, or if coffee has been a generational economic activity for a family, the younger generations tend not to be listened to. So we try to work with these groups actively. So that has been like a huge shift for me. And I think I realized that when we were getting a lot of samples, and mostly for men. And then I met a few women and I'm like, oh, you grow coffee, you've never sent me a sample. And they've said, yes, we have, but under our husbands' names, because we didn't know you bought coffee from women. And that, to me, I was like, how have I not like actively told people that we buy coffee from women? I didn't even notice that it was a situation. So from that conversation on, we were actively pushing women to give us the coffee under their name if they were the ones responsible for it. And on top of that, we are super interested in working with women, especially after we saw the vast gap in gender distribution in Guatemala. A lot of men have migrated to the US, leaving a lot of families without a parent or a father or a husband, and these women have been alone for many years now. And so we are encouraging both to have workshops that are women-led and women only, as well as agriculture, training in case they don't know, but they want to get involved. Like, we are super actively trying to get these, as I said, these marginalized groups more involved, which has been, first of all, super rewarding, because we've seen such a positive feedback by all the women that want to get involved. We've seen amazing coffees from these women. The dedication, the care that they put into the coffee is beyond our expectations. So I think, as I said, it wasn't on my mind when I first started, but it certainly has become one of our key things as we source coffee.
Amazing. Well, ever evolving, huh?
Ever evolving, yeah.
All right. So Primavera, we started as a third wave coffee source in the UK. And then in Europe, but just as an importing company. So at one point you decided to add a sister company for exporting. Can you talk a little bit about how what spurred that, and what changes then happened?
Oh yeah. If you can see, we're sharing a screen of our timeline from when we started. So I initially started the company in the UK, as Kim pointed out, as a third wave coffee source, which makes me cringe every time. 10 years ago. And the idea was to, as I said, was to source coffees from Guatemala, pay a premium for the quality, and ensure that there was traceability and transparency along with these coffees. And then quite organically. We grew, and in 2000 and what was it, 18, after a few years of being in Europe and getting to know all of our roaster partners and getting our name out there, I decided to move back to Guatemala to be closer to the origin, to the producers, in order to have a more direct contact with them. And that's when I founded La Central de Café, which is our, as you said, the sister exporting company. And it certainly has been the best move possible because it brought us closer to the producers. That, as we were talking about, that traceability, that transparency, we now control the whole chain vertically. So that has certainly been a very positive move. And it was around that time that we also opened our offices in the US, in California, kind of out of demand from roasters over there saying, you know, we've tried your coffees in Europe and they're so good, can we get them to the US? And having an import company is crucial to our operation because we work with everyone from big roasters to small roasters. So being able to deliver a pallet of coffee in a US warehouse or in a European warehouse has certainly been to our advantage. And last year we I'm not sure how you say this word in English, but we inaugurated our dry mill in Guatemala, which has been amazing for the quality, for the sorting, for our logistics. Has been super positive. It took us a little bit of time to get to know the machinery, to get to know the logistics, to do all of that, but certainly this year has proven to be the best investment we've ever made, because we have full control over all the processing of the coffee, and the exporting as well. So that certainly has been those two moves have been amazing. Moving back to Guatemala, having our own sourcing and exporting company, having our own dry mill, as well as having the importers in order to distribute our coffee to small and medium-sized roasters throughout the US. And now we've had to open one in Amsterdam because of Brexit. That was not intentional, but it certainly happened. So yeah, so that has been kind of our trajectory for the past 10 years, which has been certainly an interesting ride.
Right, so cool. Are there any projects that Primavera has worked on over the last 10 years that you were specifically excited about? Or, I mean, we've talked about like focusing on female producers and all that stuff, but is there anything else that you would like to tell us about that we've missed?
Yeah, last year we launched the Archway series, which is a series of coffees that are outstanding, like above and beyond anything you can imagine. And they range, we call that Archway, which means rainbow, because they range from anything that's super floral to really citrusy to wild and funky. So it really has all the colors in the rainbow, but these are coffees that are above and beyond our quality expectations, really. I mean, they're coffees that blow us away. They tend to be very, very small lots from small producers, and we bag them in small 35 kilo bags. So that has been something that was particularly interesting. And what we've seen is that the once we find an amazing coffee, we dig through what happened with this coffee. What instead of like encouraging producers to experiment and do anaerobics and this and that, everything that's trendy in the market, we have seen, wow, these coffees are amazing. What's going on here? And then we go back and investigate what they've done. If they've left, for example, some producers, they're at such high altitudes that they can leave the coffee overnight or even a day before processing it, and it'll give it that amazing quality without the fermentation of it. This is something that cannot be replicated in a different location. So that's why each of these lots is very, very unique. And it's something that we cannot translate from one farm to another, which that's why, it creates kind of like every rainbow that is unique. You'll never see the same rainbow twice. And that's sort of the idea behind this series, which has been really wonderful to highlight these coffees and these producers.
Well, yeah, I guess the line really shows the terroir that the coffee is grown at, and yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, I love the arcoiris coffees. All right, so final question for you, Nadine. A little bit, I want to talk about the current state of coffee. Can you share your thoughts about the volatility in the sea market price of coffee? And maybe show us some ways and how we can contextualize this in terms of sustainability.
The current state is a state that I've never been in, because obviously I've been in coffee for a little over 10 years, but it's certainly a complicated state because the coffee prices are higher than they've been in the past 10 years. So you get to a point where a lot of producers are unsure if they can sustain the higher labor that it means to produce specialty coffee. So there's a lot of producers that say, I'm gonna get a good price anyway, so they end up just selling the coffee to the local market or whoever comes first. So it's been a challenge for us to keep encouraging producers to take that extra step to really process their coffee well, to pick well, to pay their pickers more, because it's been as I said, an interesting year that I haven't seen before, and I'm still kind of wrapping my head around it. We're getting to the last month of purchases, and it's just been more difficult than any other year in terms of the personal relationship with producers. We've had years where we've had drought, where the quality hasn't been there, where we've had a lot more Quakers, for example, because the beans didn't mature fully, all of which can be either sorted through machines or things that are not as difficult, but the human aspect of this year has been certainly a challenge. We hope that with the higher prices, it doesn't necessarily mean that producers are going to receive more. They're going to be more profitable, because the cost of production has also gone up, as every country has experienced inflation and higher cost of products. So the cost of production has also gone up. So we'll see what happens with the profitability at the end of the year. We'll do a report on our producers and see how they did throughout the year. But as I said, it's been challenging in the personal aspect of encouraging producers to keep at producing high quality coffee, and not to give up and just accept a good enough price from the local coyote or the local exporter, but to really push for that quality and keep going at it.
Yeah, challenging times. They never end, it seems, after the pandemic. We have good hopes for the future, and I mean, our coffee of this harvest is tasting great, so at least I'm happy with that.
Mm-hmm.
So thanks, Nadine. Thanks for all these fascinating insights. Can't believe it's been 10 years already.
I cannot believe it either.
Yeah, onwards to the next 10. It's going to be exciting.
Yes.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, so for the second part of this webinar, we will be talking about the 2021 sustainability report that we just wrote and finished. I have some questions for Hillary. So Hillary, what interesting or exciting piece of information stood out to you from the 2021 report?
Thanks, Kim. Yeah, so there were a lot of things in this report that stood out to me, things that we added, some different information compared with last year. One of the things that I found really interesting was this reporting that we decided to do this year that we haven't done in the past about profit sharing and bonuses that we paid to producers after the harvest. So these are hard to share sometimes because we're in the report, you see we're reporting FOB prices, and then obviously these are not part of the FOB prices, but they are paid out later. So it's this amazing program that we have that's kind of difficult to communicate. So I'm really excited to see it in the report itself, so we can start sharing a little bit more about what we're doing in terms of paying quality premiums and paying extra bonuses to producers, in the later months of the year. So one of the interesting things that I noticed was that you can see here in this page that Stein has put up on the screen, we are paying producers who belong to a cooperative an additional premium of 25 quetzales per quintal of parchment coffee. It's paid out in the last quarter of the year. And this is important because producer cooperatives, for example, our cooperative partners in Huehuetenango offer really important resources to the producers. For example, some of them are savings and credit unions as well as coffee cooperatives. So they offer this really important service of savings and credit. And also a lot of them provide agronomy help, technical assistance and trainings, stuff like that. So when buyers come in and we're buying coffee from individual producers, it can create unintentionally an incentive for people to leave their cooperative because they have a buyer and they don't need to sell to the cooperative because they're selling to us. So I thought it was really cool that we shared this information in the report because by incentivizing producers that are part of a cooperative, we're able to keep these groups kind of keep the incentives for people to continue joining these groups and continue working through the groups like cooperatives. And we just realized that it was going to be really important to offer an incentive to producers to stick with these organizations for all of the benefits they provide, both when the market is really strong and also, you know, when the market is weaker. So that's something that we added to the report this year that I thought was really interesting and cool to share.
Cool, nice. Thanks for highlighting that, Hilary. So our next question, what differences did you notice between the 2020 report and the new 2021 report? And what do you think brought them about, Hilary?
Sure. So I am right here, sorry. So yeah, one difference that I noticed in the report between last year and this year, we decided to, in 2020, highlight the percentage of women in our value chain in terms of the gross number of producers, what percentage are women. And that percentage grew from 24% to 28% over the 2020 to 2021, which is really exciting to see. We are definitely cognizant of the fact that there are reasons for this change, the social reasons, like for example, migration of men who are needing to find work. So women, I think Nadine touched on this, women have started kind of taking leadership roles in their families and leading these farms. So part of it kind of reflects that social change. But then also part of it has been that women are not as timid about coming forward and saying, this is my coffee, this is my work, you know, I'd like to sell it under my name. And part of it is just that the culture is changing. Women are more excited to be involved in the economic activities of the family in all aspects of coffee. There's young women involved in the coffee agronomy school in Huehuetenango. I met one of them recently. It's just like an amazing young woman named Paula Perez. And, you know, we've seen that women are better educated than they were in the past. They're more ambitious than they were in the past, and they want to be part of the coffee economy too. So I think our exciting growth in the number of women in our value chain definitely reflects some of these exciting changes that we've seen on the ground as well.
Cool. It's amazing. It's so great to see that all these women keep coming back in our work and what we're doing is great. So Hilary, I hear that you have some news about a new program related to sustainability in 2022. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Oh, where did Hilary go?
Sorry, I'm still here.
There you are. Lost you there for a second.
No
did
problem.
You get the question?
I did, yeah. So I'm gonna go ahead and put in the chat here a link for people to take a look at. We're excited to share this year that Primavera USA is joining 1% for the Planet, which is a really exciting program that enables us to donate 1% of our sales to environmental causes. In our case, we're going to be donating to the Chain Collaborative, which is a longstanding partner of ours. And our funds are going to go to the community-led development incubator program. So This program is designed to help community organizations, especially small community organizations, and is sometimes in very rural areas, learn about development, plan and implement a project for their community, and then report the results over a period of about 18 months total. And then after the 18 months is over, they can join an alumni network and kind of act as mentors to other community groups. So we're very proud to announce that we have 2 Guatemalan producer groups in Huehuetenango who are producers of coffee that we've bought, producers that we know, groups that we're really excited to support that are going to be part of the incubator this year. So V Cafe Cooperative and Holvem Cafe are the names of the 2 groups. One of them is a group of young people that's based in San Antonio Vista. That's V Cafe, and Holvem Cafe is a group of women that are based in the community of Com. So they just have this amazing enthusiasm, this great pride in what they do in producing coffee, and they're so hardworking. So it's going to be amazing to see how their projects develop. The initial ideas for these projects, one in V Cafe is going to be a nursery for coffee and shade trees and timber trees as well. And they're going to be complementing their nursery project with an organic compost project to apply to the nursery trees, but that can also obviously be applied to other plants as well. And then with Holvem Cafe, they're very excited to start a nursery of forest trees or shade trees for coffee. And then they're also going to be doing an organic compost element to their project as well. So we're so proud of these groups already, the amazing initiative that they've shown and the hard work that they've already put in. And we can't wait to share more throughout the year. If anyone would like more information on how to get involved, please feel free to reach out to our sales team, and we'll be happy to share more info, and we can brainstorm some ideas on how to get more people involved.
Oh, thanks, Hilary. Right. A final question for Nadine. Nadine, I know that we are launching a way for UK and Europe customers to pitch in to give our producer partners to access clean water. Can you share some details about the project and how our customers can get involved?
Yeah, certainly. So last year we did a trial of donating 50 eco-filters, which are clay-based water filtration systems for clean water, for drinking water, to 50 families that we work with. And we've seen that it has had a really positive effect, and we want to help more and more families, as well as workers and anyone that is working in the fields, have access to these clean waters, because as you know, some of these families have to travel to get drinkable water, walk a long way, and we just want to make sure that they have this access to make their lives much better. So each water filtration system is 30 euros. So if any of our European or UK customers want to donate towards that, we are receiving donations starting now. We can add this to your coffee invoice, or you can perhaps fundraise in your cafe. However you'd want to look at this. We can also make sure that the filter that you're donating goes to your producer, which is also a nice way to give back. But it has we've seen a wonderful connection between giving this, and people really appreciate it, and they use it on a daily basis. So it's something that is crucial. So if you want to get involved, feel free to reach out. We can send you a little info sheet about what we're doing and what it does, and all of that. And yeah, we hope to get your support in order to reach all of our producing partners.
Great, thank you. All right. So this was the webinar already. I can't believe it. So thanks to the team for all the information, and thank you for attending this webinar. Please download the new sustainability report from our website. The link is below, and I hope you will find it enjoyable. And of course, if you have any questions, you can always reach out to us, and we can answer your questions. So now the world is opening up a little bit more. I hope that we will be able to connect with all of our roaster partners in real life soon at one of the events, maybe Expo or World of Coffee later this year. So thanks again for attending, and ciao.